Good afternoon. It's been a little over a week since I had the honor of becoming the leader of the Canadian Conservative Party and leader of the official opposition. J'ai promis qu'on allait commencer fort et c'est ce qu'on a fait. Dès les premiers jours, j'ai parlé au Premier ministre Trudeau à propos de la prorogation de nos comités parlementaires et de aliénation de l'Ouest. J'ai aussi parlé au Premier ministre Kenny, Moe, Pallister et Ford. Et j'ai prévu une rencontre avec Premier ministre Legault ce mois-ci. I've put forward a team for the office of the Leader of the Opposition, the party, and the national campaign. Today, it is my pleasure to announce the Conservative House Leadership Team. This leadership team of a government in waiting. I know these exceptional parliamentarians will help grow our team and ensure that more Canadians see a Conservative when they look in the mirror. The Honourable Candice Bergen will serve as Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party of Canada and of the official opposition. Richard Martel sera mon lieutenant pour le Québec. Gérald Deltel sera le leader en chambre de l'opposition officielle. Blake Richards will serve as Chief Opposition Whip. Karen Vecchio will serve as Deputy House Leader of the official opposition. Alex Ruff will serve as Deputy Opposition Whip. The Honourable Tim Uppal will serve as Caucus Party Liaison. Eric Duncan will serve as Question Period Coordinator. And Tom Kimmich remains our Conservative National Caucus Chair. Conservatives are united and passionate to get to work. Mais le Canada doit être uni aussi. Justin Trudeau a laissé le Canada se diviser quand on doit plutôt travailler ensemble. Notre équipe conservatrice va montrer aux Canadiens que nous sommes prêts à unir notre grand pays. We are ready to overcome Western alienation and protest parties like the Bloc québécois through respect. Nous allons confronter des partis d'éternelle opposition comme le Bloc québécois en travaillant étroitement avec les provinces pour bâtir notre pays et faire travailler les Canadiens ensemble pour offrir des nouvelles idées et de l'espoir pour les prochaines générations. We must not allow Canada to be divided by the Liberals' Ottawa knows best attitude in the politics of confrontation. Canadians are counting on us to hold the Trudeau government to account for its ethical scandals, and there have been many. But they are also counting on us to do more than just oppose. Ils campent sur nous pour guider notre pays à travers cette crise, rebâtir le Canada et s'assurer que nous soyons prêts dans le futur. Our Conservative caucus will be ready when Parliament finally returns next month. We are ready to show Canadians that we are a government in waiting. We will show Canadians that we are ready on day one to lead Canada. Next week, I will be announcing my shadow cabinet. It will be a strong, diverse team that reflects Canada and our party. More Canadians than ever before will see a Conservative when they look in the mirror. Union members, small business owners, new Canadians, and more women. Des Canadiens qui veulent travailler et qui sont fiers de travailler pour leur famille. Des Canadiens qui sont fatigués de voir des lobbyistes profiter quand eux sont laissés derrière. Canadians that are proud of what we produce in this country, whether it is the resources in the ground or the ideas in our heads. Canadians who believe in peace, order, and good ethical government. Our Conservative government in waiting will be reaching out, listening, and building to make you proud to vote Conservative whenever the election comes. And we're just getting started. On ne fait que commencer.
We are just
Merci,
getting started.
et je suis prêt
Thank
pour vos
you.
questions.
I'm now ready to take your questions.
Thank you. We will now be moving to questions. We've been allocated 20 minutes for questions today. We will go with one question and one follow-up. We will start on the phone. Maintenant, vous allez aux questions. On va commencer sur le téléphone. Nous avons été alloués 20 minutes de questions aujourd'hui. Une question puis une question de suivi, s'il vous plaît.
One question,
Operator.
one follow-up question.
Thank you. Merci. Please press star 1 at this time if you have a question. S'il vous plaît, appuyez sur étoile 1 maintenant pour poser une question. And our first question is from Brian Lilly from Toronto Sun. Please go ahead.
Mr. O'Toole, you had a piece in the National Post today saying where you stand on China. I'd like to hear from you directly on the issue of the embassies that are having a contract extended to them by the Trudeau government to have their security operations looked after by a Chinese company, Nuctech. There are Canadian companies, American, British companies that could all be handling this. Do you have concerns about this happening with a Chinese company that's been described as the Huawei of airport security?
Yes, like many Canadians, I have serious concerns, and as Prime Minister, I will cancel that contract. I think Canadians will see a very different approach and a more serious approach on the world stage, whether it comes to China or other issues impacting Canadian families. And we will be very sure that when we talk about our concerns with the Communist Party of China, we know that it's with a regime and a government, not with the country or its people. And that has to be something we are very clear on. That's why I wrote the op-ed, Brian.
The Toronto area has seen a large number of shootings in just the past couple of days. There was a shooting at a cemetery in Brampton as people were dropping by to visit the grave of a loved one. Last night, a shooting at a busy bakery in the middle of the night, busy street, Eglinton. All of this comes after the Prime Minister brought in his so-called assault-style firearms ban. Shootings in the Toronto area especially are up. What would you do to deal with an issue that is of great concern to many Canadians in terms of gun violence as compared to the current government?
Well, I'll be reaching out and speaking to many of the police chiefs of some of our large centres and talking about their priorities for public safety concerns. Having worked for many years in Toronto at Yonge and Sheppard and know the area well, safe communities is a priority for Conservatives. And we've long said that the Liberals would prefer division and distraction to actually serious proposals to close off smuggling at the border, which has gone up under Mr. Trudeau. So we're going to have serious talks on public safety and security, not the divisive sort of approach of the Liberals.
Next question on the line.
Thank you. Merci. La prochaine question est de Raymond Fillon de TVA. À vous la parole.
Next question, Raymond Fillon.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour, M. O'Toole. Pourquoi changer de lieutenant au Québec? Pourquoi ne pas continuer avec Alain Reyes, qui a l'expérience des 3 dernières années avec M. Scheer?
On a une équipe forte au Québec. Tous nos députés, j'ai beaucoup de respect pour Alain Reyes. Il va jouer un rôle important dans mon cabinet fantôme. En même temps, j'ai beaucoup de confiance dans mon ami Richard Martel et notre leader en Chambre, Gérald Deltel. Nous sommes prêts pour défendre nos intérêts et les intérêts des Québécois et Québécoises.
Mais qu'est-ce qui vous fait dire que M. Martel est mieux équipé que M. Reyes pour faire ce travail qui est somme toute très important pour votre parti au Québec, celui de lieutenant?
Je vais utiliser les talents d'Alain Reyes dans mon cabinet fantôme, bien sûr. J'ai beaucoup de respect pour Richard. On a travaillé ensemble pendant la course à la chefferie. Il est très connu dans les communautés rurales au Québec parce qu'il était un entraîneur d'hockey, coach, et il va bien connecter avec les Québécois et Québécoises avant la prochaine élection.
Prochaine question sur la ligne avant qu'on voit la salle. Next question on the line before the room.
Merci. Thank you. Our next question is from David Atkin from Global News. Please go ahead.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Erin. And just want to ask about some polling. New polls out today, we can all take a look at the horse race numbers, but I'm interested in the gender gap. Your party holds an absolutely dominant lead if it was only the guys voting. You got like a 12-point lead on the Liberals. But if it was only women voting, you're in a serious hole. You're 11 points back. So in your opening comments, you talked about how you're going to attract union leaders and others, but can you maybe just talk a little bit about this gender gap with women? Do you think it's an important gap you want to close? And if so, how are you going to close it?
I said union members. I'm not expecting Jerry Dias to come and join me, although I welcome him. If he wants to fight for Canadians, I'll be there to fight with him. I've said repeatedly, we need to reach out and grow our movement with more women, more new Canadians, and let themselves see themselves reflected in our Conservative movement. I'm extremely proud to have as my partner and deputy leader Candice Bergen, someone respected across the country, former cabinet minister, someone who's been a passionate defender of our Conservative party in the past, and will help us mentor and grow our movement of the future.
And that's a great segue, because I wonder if you wouldn't mind if I could put a question to Candice. Candice, this is, of course, Erin is the first leader of the party that is not from the West. His national campaign director, his chief of staff, the exec director of the party will all be from Ontario or the East. A lot of key position in the House leadership will be from Eastern Canada. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, you're a Westerner, a Manitoban. Can you talk about what the view is, at least from your neck of the woods in southern Manitoba, about maybe this shift from west to east in terms of sort of the power centers within the party?
Well, first of all, I'm very honored to be the deputy leader and be asked to work in this capacity. I've been able to work on the leadership teams for the last 4 years, and to be able to work with Erin, with our new leader, is a huge honor. I think two things, David, to answer your question. First of all, Erin did get support throughout the country, and he got strong support in the West. He spoke to people in the West. He let them know that he was listening to them, and the very first thing he brought up with the Prime Minister is Western alienation. Erin and I have talked briefly over the last few hours, and one of the things that he's asked me to focus on is Western alienation, and the fact that Westerners need to know that Conservatives know that this is an issue and that they will not be ignored. So our caucus is definitely aware of this issue. We want Canadians from every part of the country to know that they are important, that they are valuable, and that they are being listened to by Conservatives. So Erin has set that message out in a very clear way, and I'm looking forward to helping in that aspect.
Nous allons maintenant aux questions dans la salle. Hélène?
Questions in the room?
No way. Bonjour, Monsieur O'Toole, Hélène Buzetti du journal Le Devoir. Vous avez dit en entrevue plus tôt cette semaine que la PCU a été mal gérée, notamment parce qu'elle a été créée avant la subvention salariale. J'aimerais vous entendre, vous, si vous étiez élu premier ministre, peut-être même cet automne, est-ce que vous aboliriez la PCU?
Absolument non. Mais comme j'ai dit, j'ai proposé quelques politiques au début de la pandémie, directement Madame Freeland, M. Monod et Madame Telford aussi, les idées pour sauver les emplois. Parce que après la prestation canadienne d'urgence, on va voir peut-être un niveau de chômage très élevé. Et on doit avoir un plan pour les emplois, pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes après la PCU. Et c'est pourquoi on doit travailler sur cet enjeu.
Sur un tout autre sujet, vous dites que vous allez rencontrer M. Legault bientôt. Une des choses que M. Legault tente de savoir de vous, c'est si vous avez la même position que votre prédécesseur sur la question du rapport d'impôt unique. Je ne vous ai pas beaucoup entendu là-dessus. Encore une fois, si vous étiez premier ministre, est-ce que vous metteriez en œuvre un rapport d'impôt unique? Merci.
Merci. Premièrement, je vais parler avec mes collègues. Notre caucus, c'est important pour notre parti d'avoir une réunion ensemble pour parler sur les enjeux et les priorités québécois. Avant ma réunion avec le Premier ministre Legault, comme j'ai dit, j'ai beaucoup de respect pour lui. On a beaucoup de choses en commun pour le bien-être des Québécois et Québécoises, mais avant la réunion, je dois écouter les points de vue de mes collègues.
To the point of view of my colleagues.
David Thurton, CBC News. Mr. O'Toole, would you keep Governor General Julie Payette? You know, given all the stories that we've been reporting about her and the fact that she's under investigation?
It's inappropriate for me to comment on the Governor General. I think there's a nice separation. She did give me a very nice phone call to congratulate me on my parliamentary role, and that's all I'll say about that issue.
Okay. And then this question. During your first leadership run, you said you would bring back the First Nations Transparency Act. So can you tell us what your position on that is now? And also, would you support or would you be opposed to Parliament recognizing the United Nations Declaration on Indigenous Peoples, UNDRIP?
Well, I've had a number of really good conversations with National Chief Perry Bellegarde throughout this leadership race. I went on his podcast. He knows I have concerns with UNDRIP. In fact, we have a superior duty to consult than UNDRIP. That goes to the Supreme Court. He also knows that I worked on a pro bono basis for Indigenous issues and small businesses as a lawyer before I ran for politics. You're going to see serious approach to reconciliation under Prime Minister O'Toole. I haven't seen a serious approach from Mr. Trudeau, despite positive rhetoric. I want to see action and positive movement, and I look forward to working with Chief Bellegarde and Indigenous leaders across the country on that.
Next question in the room. Prochaine question dans la salle.
Oui, bonjour, Laurence Martin, Radio-Canada. Les conservateurs sociaux, M. O'Toole, ont plusieurs demandes pour vous que Derek Sloan ait une place dans votre cabinet fantôme, que vous mettiez fin au financement de l'avortement à l'étranger, que vous votiez contre le projet de loi sur les thérapies de conversion. Est-ce que vous pouvez me dire ce que vous avez l'intention de faire pour chacune de ces demandes précisément?
Comme j'ai dit la semaine dernière, j'étais élu comme une députée pro-choix. Mais je vais avoir une approche de respect pour mes collègues. Et on va parler sur tous les enjeux dans la prochaine réunion. Mais je vais être totalement clair sur les droits des personnes. On doit défendre les droits comme un gouvernement et je vais avoir une approche comme ça comme chef. Et on va parler ensemble avec Derek et avec tous nos députés sur notre plan pour l'avenir.
Puis sur la question des armes à feu, parce que là aussi il y a plusieurs demandes, qu'est-ce que vous allez faire concrètement? Qu'est-ce que vous promettez concrètement aux conservateurs sociaux?
J'ai lancé une plateforme politique pendant la course à la chefferie. C'est sur l'Internet maintenant. C'est les idées pour l'avenir. Mais maintenant, comme chef de parti, je dois parler et écouter nos membres, nos députés pour préparer une plateforme politique pour la prochaine élection. Donc, dans le futur, on va parler sur les politiques pour la prochaine élection, mais j'ai proposé quelques idées, quelques mesures que je pense que sont importantes pour le futur.
Mia Rabson from the Canadian Press. You already talked about Western alienation. You said it was the first thing, or I guess Ms. Bergen said that it was the first thing that you raised with the Prime Minister. The last time there was a Western party based on Western alienation didn't really work out so well for the Conservatives. How seriously are you taking the Wexit party, considering some former Conservatives are part of it, and what do you plan to do to address it?
I'm reminding everyone it worked out well for the Liberals, didn't it? Conservatives win when we're united, when we represent the aspirations of Canadians from coast to coast to coast for the future. We're not a party of selfies and hashtags. We're a party of creating jobs and opportunities for Canadians. And we don't pit one region off another, which is what the Trudeau government has done. That is why there's been a rise in alienation. So I spoke to Jay Hill months ago before he took the role he's in. I will be listening. And I think people that are frustrated, I'm saying don't let Justin Trudeau win. Make sure we're united. Make sure we win the next election.
And on China, you said earlier you would cancel the embassy contracts. Can you give some more concrete examples of how you would address the China relationship, what you would do differently than the current government?
Well, in my op-ed, I said Canadians deserve to know the difference between Mr. Trudeau and myself. He was famous for saying the country he most admired was China. The country I most admire is Canada, the one I've served my whole life, trying to serve. And we have to take a stronger, more principled approach to China on the situation with the two Michaels. I've talked about the use of Magnitsky sanctions. They should be used when there's bad actors. And that's a situation where for well over 600 days, our citizens have been detained. The situation with the Uyghurs is horrific. And the world should no longer be silent in order to grow our exports. I've seen more leadership from Australia and from other countries on this issue. And I think it's time for some Canadian leadership, and we're never going to get that from Mr. Trudeau.
Hi, Mr. O'Toole. Kevin Gallagher with CTV National News. Thanks for taking our questions. Over the weekend, one of your MPs, Carrie Lynn Finlay, retweeted a conspiracy theory that's linked to an anti-Semitic trope. You chose not to issue your own statement after your MP apologized and removed her tweet. Why not issue your own statement denouncing that type of a conspiracy theory? Why did you choose not to weigh in? And have you had any conversations with Ms. Finlay since then?
When I found out about it, the tweet was already down and Ms. Finlay had apologized for it. I did call some leaders from the Jewish community to reinforce in the House of Commons, the party that has been the strongest and loudest voice against the rise of anti-Semitism has been the Conservative Party, and it will remain that way under my leadership.
Obviously, when Parliament resumes, we are expecting a throne speech that will be a confidence vote for the government. You've listed a lot of things that you need to accomplish now as the new leader of the party, unity, getting your shadow cabinet in order. How ready will you be for an election?
We are ready. We're united as a team. We've got the best volunteers, the best organizers. We are more financially equipped, and we have quickly caught up to the work the Liberals we've heard have done. As I've said before, if they want to rattle the sabers, they will find that our saber is sharp. But I'm not here for an election. I'm here for the relaunch of our economy post-COVID. I think the relaunch will be more difficult because of slow action by the Trudeau government. And so I want to make sure we fight for the opportunity for Canadians in any part of this country to work, to provide for their families. That will be our priority number one.
Prochaine question dans la salle.
Bonjour, M. O'Toole, Joël Denis Bellavance de la presse. Si vous pouvez m'expliquer le raisonnement derrière votre décision de nommer Gérard Deltel comme leader de l'opposition en Chambre. Pourquoi vous avez choisi M. Deltel précisément?
J'ai beaucoup de respect pour Gérard et il a beaucoup d'expérience à l'Assemblée nationale à Québec et aussi dans la Chambre de communes. Il a beaucoup de respect dans notre caucus et avec les autres partis aussi. C'est important pour le leader en Chambre d'avoir du respect. Il est un orateur extraordinaire aussi et j'ai beaucoup de confiance en Gérard. On a une équipe extraordinaire au Québec et à travers le pays, dans l'Ouest, de nation à l'autre. Et nous sommes prêts d'être au gouvernement.
Deuxième question, il y a un discours du trône prévu le 23 septembre. Est-ce que le premier ministre Justin Trudeau ou ses proches collaborateurs ont tendu une perche vers vous ou vos collaborateurs pour savoir qu'est-ce que le Parti conservateur souhaiterait voir inclus dans le discours du trône? Est-ce qu'il y a eu une ligne de communication établie entre vous et le premier ministre concernant ce discours du trône?
Non, juste un appel après la course à la chefferie. Et j'ai parlé sur l'aliénation dans l'Ouest. La prorogation, c'est important pour les comités de recommencer, mais pas de conversation après ça.
Attendez, est-ce qu'il y a un appel de la part de M. Trudeau pour des consultations avec votre parti?
Nous sommes ici pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Et si c'est possible de travailler pour leur bien-être, nous sommes prêts.
Et dernière question dans la salle.
One last question in the room.
Bonjour, M. O'Toole. Catherine Lévesque, la presse canadienne. Richard Martel a été le seul député québécois à vous appuyer cette course-ci. La dernière fois, je pense que c'était le seul aussi, c'était M. Deltel. Est-ce qu'il y a dans vos nominations aujourd'hui un retour d'ascenseur? Est-ce que c'est comme un cadeau en quelque sorte pour vous avoir appuyé?
Non, on a une équipe fort expérimentée au Québec et Alain Reyes va jouer un rôle important. Mais comme j'ai dit, j'ai beaucoup de respect pour Gérard et pour Richard. On a travaillé en étroite collaboration pendant la course à la CFRI et pendant ma tournée à Trois-Rivières, à Québec, dans les Saguenay. Il connaît ces dossiers, particulièrement GNL Québec et les enjeux comme ça. Il était l'entraîneur dans quelques communautés, Bécomo, Abitibi. J'aime Richard. C'est mon coach favori d'hockey et pour notre caucus.
C'est deux questions à une. Donc, est-ce que ça va être votre coach favori, j'imagine, pour les prochaines élections? Et est-ce que vous allez nommer Derek Sloan dans votre cabinet fantôme la semaine prochaine?
On va parler comme une équipe dans la prochaine semaine sur les priorités pour notre parti avant la prochaine élection, avant la discours de trône aussi. Et je vais parler aussi avec Derek sur l'avenir, mais on va voir.
And that puts an end to this press conference. Ça, c'est la fin de la conférence de presse.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Merci. The conference has now ended. Please